This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below.
The Browns have had one of the most locked down preseasons I've ever seen a Cleveland Browns team have. Now, that's not inherently a good thing or inherently a bad thing. It's just the truth of what's going on. Part of this lockdown nature is because they have higher expectations for themselves than I think they've ever had as a franchise. Another part of this lockdown nature is just a reaction to the amount of injuries that the Cleveland Browns had last year. Either way, it's put us in this awkward position where most of the Browns' work that they've done in camp, and look, they've been putting in work, they're getting ready for the season, they're just not doing it in ways that we get to see publicly. And a lot of that work has happened in closed practices when the public was not there. A lot of that work has happened in Greenbrier. A lot of that work has happened during joint practices, which were closed to the public against the Minnesota Vikings. And the issue with that, as far as fans from the outside looking in, getting hyped or information from that style of preparation, is we're in the dark. Fans don't really see anything. And we're relying on the reporting of beat reporters to tell us how to feel about the football. And I want to say this very carefully because I do respect the work that beat reporters do. But beat reporters and the skills needed to be a good beat reporter is not the same thing that would make somebody a good analyst of a football team. Right? A beat reporter's skill is in their ability to write stories, their ability to push certain narratives to the forefront or push other narratives to the background, their ability to ask questions, their ability to have relationships with people who are in the Cleveland Browns organization to get us a clear picture of what that operation looks like. But we usually don't rely on beat reporters to be great analysts of football. There's a good reason for that, and it's not a disrespect to anybody who is a beat reporter. There's a bit of an ecosystem in place when it comes to sports talk around your favorite team, especially locally. The beat reporters have a vital job, analysts have a vital job, and then there's sports talk hosts and everything else in between. They keep the conversation going and flowing amongst everybody else. But a beat reporter is important. They need to foster those relationships. They need to know what's actually going on. Like, you're going to figure out who's playing on Sunday based on what that beat reporter does and how good that beat reporter is at their job. What you come here for is not to figure out who's playing on Sunday, even though that might be a small part of what you come here for, but you want to know if that player who might play on Sunday is actually important to what the team does. Analysts and beat reporters kind of serve a symbiotic purpose with each other. And when practice is closed off like this, it cuts out a half of that ecosystem where you're not really getting analysts from analysts, you're getting analysts from beat reporters. And that's not what they're supposed to be doing. It's not what they're great at. It's not how they got to where they got in most part. Again, let me be very clear here. I'm not saying beat reporters don't know ball. What I am saying is you would probably get a better picture if some of this stuff was more publicly available for people to break down that focus more on the football side of it instead of the reporter side of it. Think about it like this. You don't follow Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport or like Shams Charania or Adrian Wojnarowski for their basketball takes. They have never given a basketball or football take that I care about. I can't tell you a single Adam Schefter football take. I don't care what Adam Schefter's take is on football, because what Adam Schefter is there for is to report information, because Adam Schefter is like the national version of a beat reporter. And in the situation the Browns are in is, imagine if you could only figure out what the Browns are doing in practice if you followed what Adam Schefter thought about the Browns practice. It's not a great way to get information, or especially get an analysis of what the Cleveland Browns are doing. I'm sure Adam Schefter knows football, but that's not why he's at the position that he's there. He's there because he's really good at getting information out. That's the fundamental issue when you're relying on reporters to give you analysis of the football, which is the situation that we've been in for the whole summer. We as a fan base, Cleveland Browns fans, feel like we're flying into this season blind. And that's kind of because we are flying into this season blind. And I've got a few good comments that I think ask some pretty pertinent questions that I feel like need to be answered, and I'm going to try to answer them to the best of my ability. 97 Buckeye guy left the comment here that I thought was interesting. He said, the results I'm concerned with, he's reacting to the 2 preseason games, with all the injuries on the offensive line. I'm also concerned about our depth players are apparently far worse than other teams' depth players. And now with the injuries seem to plague this team, but bad depth players are worrisome. Now, if you just in a vacuum watch these 2 preseason games and you're thinking about these preseason games as if they are normal preseason games, right? Like, you're not really thinking about what the Browns are doing, who's playing, who's not. You would probably be horrified when you watch the Browns preseason games, because this does not look like a team that has good backups. And I think that would be an appropriate response if you went into the preseason relatively blind. The truth is, the Browns withheld in both preseason games about 39 players. To give you context on how many players are not playing in the preseason games, the active total number of players you can keep on a game day roster is 48, right? You have a 53-man roster, you have a 48-man active game day roster. So we're talking about 39 of the 48-man roster for game days not being out there. So you're left with like 9 players who might make the active roster. Most of those players are special teamers. In the Browns preseason game that they played on Saturday, maybe 3 of those guys are going to be a part of the actual rotation on game days. Deontay Foreman, who's going to be either a split carry running back or a backup running back, and he did look good in that game. Cam Mitchell, maybe Nick Harris, maybe, and then definitely Shelby Harris, who also looked good in the preseason. Everybody else outside of that will be playing special teams or on the practice squad or in the UFL. They will not really be a part of the Browns roster. So what you are seeing is not the Browns starters, obviously. We all know that. But it's not even the Browns backups or anybody that they really think is going to play a role when it comes to depth. Like, most of these dudes, they would probably sign somebody off somebody else's practice squad before they would ever have most of these guys play in an actual game. So don't look at these preseason games, especially last week's preseason game, and think that you're getting a preview of the Browns' depth. That is not the Browns' depth. That is just the Browns' practice squad, maybe in special teams unit. So it's something that I feel like is a natural reaction based on what people are seeing and based on what people are used to in the preseason. But keep in mind, again, the Browns aren't playing 39 players. Think about the numbers of that. 39 players. There are 22 starters on an NFL team. That's almost 22 times 2. It's almost 44, right? 39 out of 44. That's a lot of guys. So we're not even talking about second string at depth. We're barely hitting second string with some of the guys out there. So I wouldn't be worried about the Browns' depth, because I don't think what we're seeing in the preseason is anything that the Browns are relying on for their depth. Now, the tackle situation is a bit more curious. I think the way this has been going, right, either they were going to rely on Hakeem Adeniji and Jermaine Ifedi, or they weren't happy with that and they poached somebody off of somebody's practice squad or at the back end of somebody's roster, or make a trade to make sure they secure somebody. Either way, the offensive line is going to be what the offensive line is. I have issues with the starters on the offensive line and if they'll be able to hold up in a system that's going to put them in trouble a little bit more often than the systems of old. But that is another topic for another day. It's not something I would panic or cancel the season over, but it is something that I do think is going to affect the Browns offense here and there because it's not the strongest part of the team. Another reaction that I saw in the comment section that I thought was actually asking an important question was from Rob Cunningham. Short yardage, 4th and goal, in goal and one situations. I'm concerned who the Browns are counting to replace Kareem Hunt, Jacoby's QB sneak, the tight end that we used to use on QB sneak, so he's referring to Harrison Bryant. Those are money plays that keep drives alive and win games. I'm concerned. It's a good question. That's a good question. And honestly, before you asked it, I hadn't thought about it more than the fact that like Deontay Foreman is taking over Kareem Hunt's spot, right? Like that's what Deontay Foreman's there to do. He's going to take over the responsibilities that Kareem Hunt had last year. So I would imagine that would be a lot of the short yardage runs. But when it comes to QB sneak, it seems like they've been pretty adverse to having Deshaun Watson do the QB sneaks, and they want to have somebody else do it, right? The year when Deshaun Watson arrived, it was Jacoby Brissett who would come in for the sneaks. Last year, it was Harrison Bryant who would come in for the sneaks. So what's the Browns' plan? Are they going to trade and bring back Harrison Bryant? It might be possible, right, just to have that extra thing in their arsenal. They could give that responsibility to somebody else. But yeah, that's a question that I don't really have a great answer to because it has not showed up. I don't know if they're going to have Deshaun Watson run his own QB sneaks. I don't think they will. It doesn't seem like something that they want to do, especially with him coming back from a throwing shoulder injury. So, and we know that the Browns love to go for it on 4th down, especially 4th and 1, 4th and short situations. They're not always going to want to just run it with Deontay Foreman in those spots. So who's going to take the sneaks? It's a good question. Somebody should ask it. And somebody should ask it to Kevin Stefanski or Ken Dorsey, because I do think that question is worthy of an answer because we don't know yet. And maybe we'll find out an answer during the preseason. Maybe they'll get in the 4th and 1 and we'll see them break out something. Maybe we'll find out in week 1, but they're probably going to keep that close to the guard. If they trade for Harrison Bryant, then you know it's going to be Harrison Bryant. But yeah, that's a great question that I think should be brought up. Who is the Browns' 4th and 1 solution, Rob? I don't know. And even if the plan is to have Deontay Foreman replace Kareem Hunt, while I think Deontay Foreman is a better every down back than Kareem Hunt is at this time of his career, I do worry that he's not the same caliber short yardage back that Kareem Hunt was. Kareem Hunt was going to get you 3 yards to carry no matter what. And when he's an every down back, that kind of sucks. But when he's a short yardage back, it's actually kind of awesome. And, you know, I don't know if Deontay is going to be able to give that same burst. We'll see. He has the burst. He has the size. He's done stuff like this before in his career. But we want to see him in that very specific role that the Cleveland Browns have. So good questions all around. But that's my 2 cents on that. Let me know everything you know. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have a better night. Peace.